What's up, everybody? It's Anand from Underdog Strength, and today I'm super excited to bring to you someone who I really look up to as a coach, and it's none other than Jordan Syatt of Syatt Fitness. And some of you might know him as Gary Vee's personal trainer. Even before Jordan became Gary's coach, he was already a very accomplished online coach himself. And not only that, but he's also an accomplished athlete himself, having competed in wrestling and powerlifting. In fact, in powerlifting, he set records in his weight class, and not only that, but he's deadlifted over 4 times his body weight, which is really impressive for anyone who's familiar with powerlifting. Now, I've been a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk's for a really long time. In fact, he's the reason why I started my whole YouTube channel in the first place. After reading all of his books, especially his first book, which is Crush It, this really inspired me to pursue my own passions of fitness. And that's the whole reason why I started this YouTube channel and my website. When I first found out that Gary has a personal trainer who has a powerlifting background just like myself, I was super excited by this, and I knew that I had to, get in touch with him. So I decided to ask Jordan if he'd like to do an interview for my YouTube channel, to which he agreed to almost immediately. So I really want to thank Jordan for taking out time out of his busy schedule. As you may or may not know, he's with Gary almost every single day, and wherever Gary goes around the world, Jordan travels with him. In this interview, we talk about how Jordan started lifting, how he became a coach, how he became Gary's coach, and then what's it like coaching Gary and living the whole entrepreneur lifestyle. And finally, if you have a passion for fitness and you want to pursue fitness as a career or a business, then this interview is for you. So with that, let's get started with the interview with Jordan Syatt. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Anand from Underdog Strength, and today I have a very special guest for you guys. It's none other than Jordan Syatt of Syatt Fitness. Hey, Jordan.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, man. I'm glad to be on here.
Yeah. So, for the one or two people who may not know who you are, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So, don't want to spend too much time on that part, but basically, um, started out in fitness basically because of wrestling. So I got into wrestling at a really young age, like 8 years old. Fortunately, did very well in that and competed at a high level all the way through high school. And because of wrestling, because I had to cut so much weight, I ended up really diving into strength training and nutrition, learning how to get stronger and improve performance while cutting a lot of weight at the same time. I was really lucky to be in contact with some really incredible people, science-based coaches at a young age. So I got my first personal training job at 14, sort of steamrolled from there, did competitive powerlifting for a long time, did fortunately very well with that. Trained at Westside Barbell, trained at Cressy Performance. Started my online business when I was 19 in college. And by the time I graduated, I could just sort of work from my computer, and I ended up moving to Israel after college in the US, and just worked from my computer. And then more recently, Gary Vaynerchuk asked me to be his personal trainer. So I travel the world with Gary, I coach him, and then I do my online business at the same time.
That's pretty awesome. So
yeah, man, it's fun. I love it. Very, very fortunate. So it's a great time.
Yeah. So you mentioned how you got into lifting, but when at what point did you actually decide to become a coach?
When did I actually become a coach?
Yeah, or when did you decide to become a coach?
Well, so I got my first personal training job at 14, and I fell in love with it immediately. Basically, as soon as I started coaching people at 14, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I mean, I remember being in high school, 14, 15, 16, sitting in English class vividly. I remember being in class and not paying attention to a word the teacher was saying and writing out programs, workouts that were made up imaginary in my head. I would say, okay, you have a soccer player who's 18, they have knee issues. How do you write a training program for this person in the off season? It's as soon as I started doing it, I fell in love with it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So you mentioned that, from the pretty much from the beginning, you had all these science-based coaches or motivation. But did you start off doing like maybe some like bro programs? Or did you, right from the beginning, were you doing like the right stuff?
So I think everyone does stupid. I mean, for example, like I firmly believe that if you don't look back at what you're doing every 6 months and think that what you were doing before was stupid, then you're not getting better. So I look back at the stuff I was doing 6 months ago and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Meanwhile, that stuff was producing great results. Um, that being said, when I really first got into working out, I was very, very lucky to be immediately thrust into a science-based world with science-based coaches.
Mhm.
And I didn't spend much time doing bro stuff. I didn't really spend much time like reading magazines or like online doing like a lot of the myth stuff. I was fortunate because the people that I surrounded myself with happened to be very science-based and they had already been through that. So I was lucky to not have to go through that myself.
That's awesome. So when I was actually following Gary for quite a while, and then when I actually learned that he has a personal trainer, at first, uh, I thought, like most celebrity trainers, I think a lot of them aren't really that good. But then when I saw your profile and when I dug into it, I was like really pleasantly surprised that your knowledge, and I was also surprised that you had a powerlifting background just like myself. So
Yeah, man. It's funny because um, I don't think Gary ever imagined you'd be being coached by a power lifter, but it's great. And the cool thing is you can always take the principles of powerlifting and apply them to other coaching methods and still get like I'm not training Gary to be a powerlifter, but I'm still taking a lot of the principles and theories of powerlifting and carrying them over to a program that will help him move better and feel better and just be overall healthier.
right. So how did you actually get the opportunity to become Gary's coach?
So it's a long story, but based on his first coach, Mike Vacanti, actually he followed my work since 2012 or 2011, one of those. Basically, what happened was his Mike Vacanti was his old coach, and before Mike even became a personal trainer, Mike was reading my stuff online, and there's comments from Mike on my website in 2012, where like I didn't know that it was Mike. I didn't like he wasn't Gary's trainer yet. He wasn't even a personal trainer yet. So basically, he was just reading and researching and learning about it and loving it. I'm like I look back now and I see his comments and I would reply to them and we like sort of like got to know each other on that front, but not really well. It was just like, hey, there's this guy who comments on my website sometimes, and through a crazy turn of events, he ended up several years later, about like 5 years later, becoming Gary's coach. And then when his contract with Gary was up, um, basically they were like, Gary was like, who's going to coach me next? And they came up with a list of a handful of people. I was on that list, and then that sort of is what. Then I came in for an interview where get coached with Gary for an hour, and then that led to Gary picking me. All of which was really because I started out knowing Mike and being able to, and like I had earned his trust years before.
Yeah, I know Gary's talked about this topic as well. I think he said it's not about how many followers you have, but who's following you. And if that one follower is, like someone like Mike, uh, it can change your life completely.
100%, man. And it's a really good way to look at it, and treating them all with respect and being kind and replying to them and getting back to them and just treating them like people. I think a lot of times on social media, people can be really mean and people can be like really derogatory. People can be negative so much. They don't really treat people like people.
Right.
They treat them like these like robots or like these just random images on a screen. And behind that image is a real person. And it's important to remember that.
Right. And did you actually have to deal with a lot of negativity online, or is it mostly positive?
It's interesting. I think most of what I see is positive, but the human brain is really funny because I could get 100 comments being like, this was a great post, this was fantastic, like this really helped me, but then get one of someone being like, this is stupid, you're an idiot, and that one will just completely like ruin, like it won't ruin, it used to ruin me. Now I can sort of brush it off, but it's interesting how it's easier to hyper focus on the negative and sort of disregard the positive unless you sort of train yourself to really recognize that and go the other direction.
Mm. And then, well, what's it like being Gary's trainer? What's it like traveling all over the world? And I mean, you're pretty much living the dream, I'd say. So what's it like?
It's insane, man. It's a ton of fun. I'm learning a lot. Working with Gary is a blessing. Just being able to see his lifestyle and see what he does, how he does it. It's not a normal lifestyle, you could say. No, like it's not far from normal, right? Like we're barely ever home. We're constantly on the road. And I get to work with one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. So that's amazing. And for me, it's also really cool as a coach because most coaches, at most, they'll see someone 3 to 4 times a week for an hour. Like that's at most. For me, I get to work with him literally 7 days a week, every day for 3 years. That's our contract is 3 years. Wow. So I literally get to work with him and see him every single day, watch the progression. And it's an amazing case study for me because like I'm in complete control of everything. And it's amazing to see like the change that can come with that level of intensity.
Right. And I've definitely seen, the changes in Gary's appearance over the years. I mean, he's definitely looking a lot better compared to even like 2 years back.
Thank you, man. Yeah, he's working hard. He really went all in, right? He's very much black or white, yes or no, all in, all out. And basically he went from never exercising and never eating well to being like, I'm hiring a full-time coach. We're training 7 days a week. And like, they're making all the decisions on my training and nutrition for me. And like, he literally just made that change overnight. And so he works hard. He works his ass off.
Right. And, and in terms of comparing, fitness with other areas of life, I've always like drawn parallels between them. I know you and Gary made a video about, it's all about the reps. You put in the reps over and over again, and if you want to see the results. So I think that was a really cool comparison that he made.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like, that's actually one of the things about Gary that I think that one of the things that makes him very successful is he's very good at relating to people based on their interests. So he's very good at like got to put in the reps. Like it's a really good way to resonate with personal trainers and strength coaches because that's what the terms we think in all day. And it's a really good comparison to be able to like get that point across.
Right. And then what kind of influence has he had on you?
He had major influence on me. It's funny because before I worked with him, I wasn't that big on social media. Like I did stuff on social media, but it wasn't really where I wanted to be. And truth be told, if I didn't have a business online, I wouldn't use social media. Like I just wouldn't. It wouldn't be something I pay attention to. The reason I use social media is because I run a business and that helps my business grow. Yeah. Personally, I don't really have an interest in it. Right. Before Gary, I was doing most of my stuff via email marketing, just like communicating on my email list that way. And right. I loved that because there wasn't a public presence. I actually liked being more private. Mm-hmm. But when I worked with Gary, I was like, you know what? This is literally the guru of all gurus on social media. So mm-hmm. I'll go all in for 3 years and see what happens. And it's been life-changing. It's been incredible. It's been a really amazing experience. I've connected with more people. I've gotten to know more people. I've gotten to experience way more things because of it. So the biggest influence he's really had on me is diving into the world of social media and also showing me sort of how really you can push the limits of hard work. I thought that I was working hard before. Then I started working with Gary and I saw how hard he worked and I was really, well, I could probably work about 80% harder. And so he really pushed me to see that new level.
Yeah. I think it's the same way with even fitness, So, when I started powerlifting, I used to train at a commercial gym. And then, I decided to join Boss Barbell. And literally every single person, even the girls, were like all stronger than me. And, that showed me a completely new level. I thought I was pretty strong, but until I came to Boss Barbell.
Isn't it funny how that works?
Yeah.
And that's a really good example, because like the whole saying of you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, it's true in the perspective of if you work out with people who are all weaker than you, it's not going to be as motivating for you than as if you work out with people who are all stronger with you. Because if you're the strongest one in the gym, you're not as motivated to really push yourself and go harder. Whereas if you're the weakest one in the gym, like you see what's possible, you see what other people are doing, and you want to push that limit, you want to reach it, and you want to get there, and there's a competition. And I think having that competition and having that the perspective there to see what's possible is a huge driver.
Right. I agree completely. So, want to ask you, as a coach, who's your typical client like right now? What kind of clients you typically coach?
I have a couple typical clients. The first typical client is basically a power lifter. Man, woman, doesn't matter. I coach as of right now more women than men, but a lot of powerlifters who they just straight up want to get stronger, squat, bench press, deadlift. They want to compete. And they just want to get better at powerlifting. Then I also have, and like I think it's between these two, is just the everyday person. Again, man or woman. I do coach more women currently, but every day between, we'll call it 28 to 65, so pretty big age range. But like they want to get stronger, they want to get more defined, they want to lose body fat, and they want to feel better and move better. So the general population, but I would say that it's the general population with a relatively somewhat higher understanding of fitness and nutrition than just any random person you meet on the street. Like, in order to find me and my work, you sort of have to have at least some base level of knowledge to be able to come across my work, whether it's searching something on Google, searching something on Instagram, who are the other people you're following on Instagram. There usually has to be some base level of knowledge that is higher than average. And that's the general client.
And then sometimes do you have certain clients where you have to educate them? So, for example, they may not know anything about the calories or the macros. Do you have to spend some time teaching them all that?
Absolutely, of course. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I have an entire video nutrition course that all of my clients get. So all of my clients who sign on with me, they get it's 35 videos, and it sounds insanely boring, but they're like 2 to 4 minutes long. A couple of them are like 5 minutes, but 2 to 5 minutes long. And it's me, just like I'm talking to you. I'm swearing. I'm being very casual. I'm not talking like we're in a nutrition class in college. It's like we don't talk about gluconeogenesis or the Krebs cycle. It's basically like, here's what calories are, here's what protein is, here's examples of them. And then, but also even more than just like that knowledge stuff, a lot of it is mindset and habit stuff. So what to do when you weigh yourself and the scale goes up? Like, how do you react? What's your next steps? What do you do if, like, there's so many different things that could be going on emotionally. So there is the knowledge component, but then also there's the accountability component and the motivation component, because most people know how to lose weight. Most people know that they should be eating more vegetables and fruits. They should probably be eating more lean proteins. Should probably be drinking more water. They should be going to exercise a couple times a week. Most people know this, but they're not doing it necessarily for a long period of time. And that a lot of times they'll say is like, listen, I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. And that a lot of times boils down to giving them the accountability to keep them on track.
Right. Yeah, I really like that example you gave about the gluconeogenesis and all that, because I'm actually guilty of using some of those terms as well. Because especially when I was starting out, I had a hard time keeping things simple. if someone would ask me what kind of exercise I should do, I would try to explain to them, well, you have like, your anaerobic exercises, which use a lot of glycogen, like weight training and hit cardio, and then you have your aerobic exercises, and then they would just turn people off, and I thought I was being helpful, but it was probably the opposite effect. So how do you actually keep things simple?
Yeah, dude, honestly, you're 100% right. That will turn people away, because we think we're being helpful. We think that's like, well, this is like, it's because we're so interested in it. We love it. We spend hours and days and weeks and months and years studying it, obsessing over it. It's what we love. And the reality is most people don't love it. They don't care. If they did, they would go to school for it. They wouldn't be asking you the questions on it, because they would know already. So for me, like, if you look at my Instagram post, like, people are like, okay, like, how should I work out? I'll write an Instagram post that will have an image of how to work out and making it simplified. And I'll say, like, squat things, push things, press things, pull things, lift things. And basically it's like, it'll have an image showing what each one is, but it's breaking it down into the most simple, basic things people need to understand to get the most results. Because if you try and explain, like, okay, this is aerobic and this is anaerobic and then this is like how ATP regenerates, and like, you try to like explain all this stuff, they're going to tune out and they're not going to want to do it, and they're just going to go to a class and like go to Zumba or something. Like, you need to just give them, here's what you're going to do, and have them do it. You have to meet them where they're at. Most people, they just want a program. Like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Give it to them, and then build a relationship with them. And as you build a relationship, and as you get better over time knowing them, you can explain more, because they'll be more curious. They want to know you more. They're more interested in you. But in the same way, you have a progression of exercises for your clients. Like, you say, okay, cool. So we're going to start with a kettlebell deadlift, then we'll go to a trap bar deadlift, then we'll go to a sumo, then conventional, whatever. Like, you're not going to go from like first day in to deficit deadlifts, like with a snatch grip. Like, that makes no sense. So you have to have a similar progression with your clients of, I'm not going to jump right in and start explaining how like the Krebs cycle works. First, I'm going to tell them to start like tracking their calories, and that's the first progression, and then move forward.
Right. So I want to ask you, as a coach, you want the best results from your clients. So what are some of the challenges that you face, whether you're coaching for powerlifting or for the general population? What are some of the biggest challenges?
The biggest challenge I've found tends to be when people go off track. Okay, maybe they went on vacation, or maybe they just went out to dinner with a couple friends and like they ate more than they should have, or maybe they were all alone in their house and they binged on something, and then they think they completely ruined their progress. In a similar way, if like the scale jumps up, like if they've been perfect with their diet, but the scale goes up a couple of pounds one day and they freak out because what's going on? Like, I've been following everything. Why isn't this working? And these are very similar mindsets and very similar obstacles to overcome. And from the thinking that you screwed up aspect part, where it's like you maybe ate too much, or you went off track, you have to remember, progress comes from consistency, not rigidity. And the way I like to explain this is, no one ever got fat from eating a donut, in the same way that no one ever got skinny from eating a single salad. Like, that's just not how the body works. Things happen over time. So when someone tells me like, oh my God, I screwed up last night, like I went 1,000 calories over, 1,000 calories is nothing. Like, in the grand scheme of life, that is peanuts. It's nothing. Like, don't worry about it. Just get right back on track. You're always one bite away from being right back on track. So that's how we deal with that one, and sort of cultivating that mindset of you can't screw up. And then with the scale, it's really, really, really hammering home the importance of not attaching emotions to what the scale says. Because logically, everybody knows that you're not going to lose weight every single day. Like, you know that logically. If you lost half a pound, if you lost a pound every day for a year, like, obviously you lose 365 pounds. Like, but either way, people, they still let the emotional side take control, And so if the scale goes up half a pound, or if the scale goes up even 2 pounds, they freak out. They're like, what the hell is going on? This is bullshit. This isn't working. Why? What's going on? And they logically, they know it, but emotionally the scale gets the best of them. So when I work with clients, I don't celebrate the scale going down, and I don't get mad or like have a different tone when the scale goes up. They send me their weight, and I remain totally neutral, and I collect the data over time and look at the trend. And if they get really excited about their weight loss, I'll say, hey, listen, I know you're excited and it's amazing. You're working so hard. Like, keep it up. But the scale will jump up again. I want you to know that. And it does not mean you gain fat. It just means the scale is going to jump up again. That's what it does. And I don't want to attach a positive emotion with down, but then get mad at them if they get disappointed when it goes up. So you have to sort of be congruent with that.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about powerlifting now. So you actually successful as a powerlifter, and you also have some world records, right?
Correct.
So what was your record in?
So I competed in the IPF and also the RPS, and I competed. So my deadlift is really what I'm most well known for. I deadlifted 4 times my body weight, which was 535 at 132 pounds. So that was like my major, like that's my favorite. What's that?
That's really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's what I really cared more about than anything else. My squat was good. Best squat was 420 at a body weight of 132. So a little over 3 times body weight squat. Best bench press was 265 at 132. So overall, good lifter. I totaled elite at a very young age, and I loved it. The deadlift is really, that's where my love was. It still is. The deadlift is my favorite lift, which makes sense. You love the stuff that you're really good at. But ever since I was like a teenager, I always wanted to deadlift 4 times my body weight. So that was just my main goal and driver for years and years and years and years until it actually happened.
That's awesome. And then do you have any plans of competing in the future?
I will probably in the future. As of right now, nothing in the next 2 years. I'm with Gary for another 2 years. And I spend more time, and not kidding, this is legitimate. In my first year with Gary, I spent more time on planes and in hotels and traveling than I did actually in my apartment in New York City. So I'm not consistently in a gym enough, and I don't really have enough legitimate time to dedicate to really compete. If I'm going to compete again, then I'm going to make sure that I beat my old records, and that's not going to happen at this point. I need more consistency, and I need probably at least, if I'm really going to compete high level, at least 2 hours a day, 4 times a week for my training program. And as of right now, I can train, like, I give myself maybe 3.5 total hours a week for it. And I just like crank those out in 30 to 45 minute sessions. It's just not ideal for competitive powerlifting.
Right. So with all this traveling that you and Gary do, how do you actually train? How do you get your sessions in, and how do you make sure that you eat the right foods with all the traveling that you do?
It's tough, man. It's brutal. I mean, airport food is awful, wicked expensive too, but like, it's really tough. And the biggest thing is, number one, understanding you can't screw up. You can always get right back on track. One meal and even one day or even 1 week doesn't make or break your progress. It's everything in totality. So we do our best. And like, sometimes that'll mean like we'll do fasting days. Like, other times that'll mean like we're really focusing on, like, maybe we'll go low carb one day, and then like we'll have a great week of training, and I'll make sure we're going to go higher carb that week. Or if he's wicked tired from, he gets 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 hours of sleep at night, we have to adjust based on that. So it's all adjustment. It's all play it by ear, and really like being able to make an intelligent, smart decision in the moment. Because things do change on the fly. But most of it just comes down to understanding you can't screw up and doing the best with what you have, whether it's a hotel workout in your hotel room at whatever time, or you get a full gym to work out in, or whatever. You got to make do with what you have, and understanding that something is always better than nothing allows you to keep on winning, because if you don't have your ideal circumstance, it's easy to say, screw it, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
But like, if you understand something is better than nothing, then it is better than nothing, and you will continue making progress because at least you're doing something.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about the Westside Barbell, because with the growth of the raw powerlifting these days, most people they discount what Westside actually is, and they don't even know what Westside actually is. And you're the only person I've talked to who's actually trained at Westside. So what are some of the misconceptions about Westside out there?
Man, there's a ton of misconceptions about Westside, and I'll say a lot of people love to hate on Westside, and yet everyone goes through phases. Some people love to hate on whatever, but a lot of people like to hate on Westside. And the reality is, here's the truth: if you've never trained at Westside, if you've never actually been there and spoken to Louie and seen what they do, and your only source of information is information off the internet of what someone else has said,
Right.
You don't know. You have no idea what's going on there, and you're basing it off of other people's opinions,
Right.
many of whom have not been there. A lot of people say it doesn't work. They say it's not realistic. And again, that stems from more or less ignorance of not understanding what they're actually doing there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say probably the biggest misconception is people hear what Louie says. And keep in mind, first of all, Louie's like a father to me. He's like he's treated me like a son, and really incredible guy. But also, at the same time, he's one of the most dogmatic, single-minded, closed-minded people you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's like Westside or nothing, like very like strict and firm on that. And that sort of creates that dichotomy, that issue of like, well, he says that it's only this or that, and so that's got to be it. And he comes across that way because he's really confident, and he's really like I believe in what I'm doing so much that this is the only right way. But that's what he'll say with his words, but in his actions, it's very different. He's very individualized. Someone comes in, he'll completely change the program for them based on their sport, based on their individual needs. So it's funny because he'll get on YouTube and he'll be like Westside or whatever, and this is the only way to do it. But then someone else will come in and like, I don't think he's doing it purposely. He's not trying to, he hates social media. He doesn't like this. He doesn't know how it works. He's over 70 years old, and he still deadlifts over 700 pounds. But he's so passionate about his systems and what he does that it comes across as though he's unyielding, and like he wouldn't change for individual stuff. It's just it couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. And then, do you still use the basic philosophy of Westside and apply it to raw lifters?
I take the basic principles of Westside and apply them to all lifters. Keeping in mind, the basic principles of Westside are literally just the basic principles of good strength training and working out in general. So I'm not going to take a 42-year-old man or woman who has no interest in competing in powerlifting and have them back squat to a 1-rep max ever. I won't have them back squat to anywhere near a max, even a 5-rep max. Like, it's going to be more sub maximal loading, but enough where that it can elicit maximal strength gains. And really, that's what it breaks down to. Like, the best strength training programs all have the same principles within the program. It might just be ordered differently or look a little bit different. So they're all going to be improving maximal strength in some form. They're all going to be improving speed strength in some form. They're all going to be improving muscle endurance in some form, core strength. They're all going to be improving it. Just the exact ways they go about it, which is really the minutia, is the difference. And as long as you're getting the overall principles involved in the program, you're going to be covered.
Right. So if a brand new client comes to you, what's your general programming philosophy? Like, how do you start them off on a training program?
Just like for a general client or for a powerlifter?
General client.
So for a general client, it's usually, it depends on them, but it will either be 2 or 3 or 4 times a week of training. I give them that option. They are not allowed to train more than 4 times. And if they can't commit to more than 1 time, then I won't take them on. So 2 or 3 or 4. And it's simple. If it's 2 times a week, it'll be 2 full body sessions. If it's 3 times a week, it'll be a lower body, upper body, full body split. And if it's 4 times a week, it's lower body, upper body split. And that's basically it. It's very simple. Each workout, I'm big on supersets. I'm big on combinations. So it's not like you do one exercise and then sit down for 10 minutes. Like you do one exercise, pair it with another exercise, rest for 90 seconds, repeat, and you do that 3 to 4 times and that's like your total workout which is like between 6 to 8 exercises in total. You should be in and out within 30 to 45 minutes, unless you're really going to go a little bit heavier on your main strength move, then it can be up to 60 minutes. And that's basically it.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty solid. And then before you, even before you became Gary's trainer, you were already a fitness entrepreneur, right? So at what point did you go from being a personal trainer to forming an actual business, and specifically like an online business?
So I mean, like I said, I got my first personal training job at 14, and I was coaching people in person from 14 all the way until I started my online business, which is when I was 19 or 20. And I actually started it when I was training at Westside. I think the important thing to keep in mind is I did not start my website with the intention of making money. There was I was 19. There was no thought process. There was no way in my mind that I ever could have imagined that I could make money off of posting or writing articles online on my website, to the point where like I told my family members what I was doing, and like some of them laughed. They were like, I hope you're not going to plan on making money. Like, this isn't your business. You got to pay attention in school still, because this isn't going to do anything for you. And I was like, I know it's not going to do anything for me. I want to do it. Like, I want to write. Like, Louie encouraged me to do it. I had a couple other people encourage me to do it. So all I did starting from 19 is just write about what I was learning at Westside, write about what I was learning at Cressy, like write about my training protocols, post the videos on YouTube. And over time, people started to follow me, and people started to like ask me questions, and people say, could you write my workout program? And I would do it for free, because again, it didn't even cross my mind that I could charge for something like that. Like, yeah, I'll write your program. And I would like spend hours writing people's workout programs for them. And I was still in college at the time. So it got to a point where I had too many people to be doing it for free. And I'm like 20 or 21. I was like, I got to start charging people. So I opened up a PayPal account, and I remember my first client was this woman in Brazil, and she paid me to write a workout program. I was shaking in my college dorm room. I was like, I can't believe this woman just paid me to write her workout. And that was it. And it sort of like kept going from there. Like it built up steam and momentum, and I realized I could turn this into an actual business. And all this time I was coaching people in person too. I did that all through college, built my online stuff, still coach people in person, graduated college. And for about a year after, not a year, I'd say 8 months. Yeah, it was 8 months after college. I did both online and in person. And then I ended up stopping in person at a gym, went fully online, except for a handful of in-person clients who I just loved and I really wanted to keep working with. And that was that. And like, that's sort of how I kept it, was fully online. But I think coaching in person is really important for every coach, because that's how you're going to get better, is by coaching in person. And I never wanted to fully, and I love it. But the main thing was, when you're coaching for 8 or 10 hours a day on your feet nonstop, it is brutally awful, like, and tiring, and you can't give your clients the best service. So I limited myself to 2 or 3 a day at most, of people who made my life better as well. And it wasn't just like a terrible hour.
Right. So right now, what does a day in the life look like for you?
Oh man, there's on Garyvee's schedule, there is no such thing as a normal day in the life. That is for sure. But generally, assuming we're in New York and assuming like things are going to be on what we would consider a normal schedule, I would wake up around 4 or 5 a.m. We would work out between like 5 and 6 or 6 or 7 a.m. Then from there, I would start answering emails. I would take care of all my client emails first, get those out of the way. Then I would usually do some social media posting, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Then from there, I would take a break. I'd go work out. After my workout, I'd come back, I'd get lunch. Then from there, do more work, usually more social media, content creation, networking, collaboration, stuff like that. I'd do that for a couple hours. Dinner. Then after dinner, I would answer my emails for the second time that day, clear my inbox. And then at night, whether it's like working on my inner circle membership or going through social media and answering comments, doing more posts, whatever, that's usually what the day would look like. And I'd go to bed usually between 10 and 1, depending on the night.
Wow, that's so. Yeah, I don't think most people realize how much work actually goes into this.
Oh man, people have no idea. People have no idea. They can't comprehend it.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, this work is so fulfilling that you don't even feel that you're working super hard because it's so rewarding.
I 100% agree. That's the thing is like if you love it, it's worth it. And it's funny. People say, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. I honestly, I disagree. I disagree with that statement. Like, if you love what you'll do, you'll actually work harder than everybody else, and you will grind and you will like do it. And it doesn't mean every moment is like pleasurable and it's like you're just lolling in the stars and it's amazing. But it does mean because you love it, you are willing to put yourself through the grinder much more than if you're doing something that you're not passionate about.
Right. Right. I think if people aren't passionate about something, they're very, very likely to give up after like a cup of tries. Whereas, if you are passionate, then you keep on persisting at it.
100%. Absolutely. And it's funny. And I think for anyone who might want to start an online business, what I'm about to say now is I think the most important thing. If you pay attention to what I said regarding my online business, I said I didn't start it with the intention of making money. And I honestly think that difference is what allowed me to succeed so far. Because most people I know who start an online business with the intention of making money burn out and quit very quickly. Right. Because that's their goal. They're passionate about making money, but when they don't do it and they don't see the results right away, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. They're really not passionate about helping people. They're passionate about trying to make money, and it doesn't come right away and they quit. Right. But if you're passionate about helping people and you're passionate about like helping people achieve their goals and seeing results, then your fire will stay lit for longer because you're getting the feedback from people. They're thanking you. They're showing you all the progress they're making. And you're so excited, not because you're making money. You might not be making any money, but because they're seeing results as a direct result because of your help. And that will lead you to making more money down the line.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, a lot of the people who might be watching this or listening to this might be, fitness professionals. And one thing I'd like to say is, as a fitness professional, we know how hard it is to get results, and, you have to put in the work over a long period of time to see any kind of results. And the same thing applies to business as well. It's not like, you get these overnight results just by going to the gym like once or something like that.
100%, man. Exactly right.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your social media and your Instagram specifically. You have quite a following on Instagram, and the great thing is, I'd say almost 99% of your posts are like extremely informative and also like really easy to follow. So it's like, what does your content creation look like for each of those posts?
So the biggest thing that sort of led my Instagram to explode was the infographics that I create. They're basically just a single image with other smaller images on it that basically it's like a picture book and like via Instagram. And it sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. where like I don't talk about gluconeogenesis, the Krebs cycle, or any of that stuff because they don't care and they won't read it. So I figured out like the best way to reach people who need the help most, who are not going to be reading scientific journals and who are not reading nutrition textbooks. The best way to give information that is easily digestible is via images,
Right.
like with cartoon characters and with like as few words as possible, to the point where all they have to do is look at the image, and they just from looking at the image, they know my point. They know exactly what I'm trying to say.
Right.
If they want more information, they can read the caption and I'll go more in depth. But just by looking at the image, within, I'd say, about 2.5 seconds, they can completely understand what my point is and like the truth about whatever it is. So that's my goal with it. And that has really led my Instagram to see much more growth than usual, because it allows people to learn and to be motivated and to pursue their fitness goals without feeling like they're idiots because they don't understand what the personal trainer is saying, and without getting demotivated because they don't understand what's going on. It actually gives them motivation because they have all their tools right there. Now they just need to put it in place.
Right. Yeah, and to be honest, I really like reading a lot of like really technical stuff and even like research studies and stuff, but not when I'm on Instagram. So,
Exactly. No one goes on Instagram to read research.
Right. Right, exactly. So, for someone who's aspiring to, become a coach or a fitness entrepreneur, what are some of the tips you can give for them to get started?
The first thing is coach people for free. Like find as many people as you can who and coach them. Don't charge them anything. Just say, hey, like I'll coach you for free. Just like let me get your testimonial if your results are really good. And that's usually, most people are going to take you up on that. They're like, okay, cool, whatever. Write me a program and write this stuff and I'll do it. And with that style, you'll have more people fall off because when someone doesn't pay for something, they don't value it as much. But if you really check in and you really work hard and you really do it with a lot of people, you're going to get some gems in there who value what you're doing and who really put the effort in, and they see amazing results. And then they're going to tell all their friends about you and all their family. You got to work with this guy, got to work with this woman. Like, and that is what will kickstart your business. And I say this not from just my own experience, but from my business coaching clients' experience and from people like numerous people start off offering for free, give content, show people you care, and over time, people will start coming to you.
Right. So, well, Jordan, I know you're really busy, but I really want to thank you for your time today and giving me this opportunity to talk to you. But before we end,
it was a pleasure, man.
yeah, thanks. And before we end this, where can people find you?
Anywhere. So if you search Syatt Fitness, Syatt Fitness on Google, all my stuff will come up. But on Instagram, Syatt Fitness, Facebook, Syatt Fitness, YouTube, it's Jordan Syatt. Yeah, just type that into Google, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I'll pop right up.
Awesome. And if someone's interested in your coaching services, where can they go for that?
So as of right now, one-on-one coaching is officially closed. I'm not accepting anybody anymore just because it got too full. But I do, and that's, for what it's worth, it's very expensive, between $300 to $500 a month, depending on the package. But if you do want to work with me, I have something called my Inner Circle, which is way less expensive. It's only $24.99 a month. You can cancel anytime you want. But basically, it's where I give all of my newest workouts, like my strength training workouts, metabolic conditioning workouts. I hired a chef. They give us fat loss recipes every month. We have a group community forum, several hundred members in there and growing. And that's really where I'm pushing people right now if they want to work with me, because the one-on-one, I'm sort of like, I'm done with it for this point. I do have a handful of clients, but the Inner Circle is really where I'm putting all my effort.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I really want to thank you once again for this opportunity, and hopefully, we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely, man. Listen, anything you need, let me know. I'm glad we got on the phone. And anyone listening, if you need anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.